Talking to my teenager. Communication strategies for parents of teenagers. Lesson 4. Dear parents, here are some important communication strategies to build a good relationship with your teen. Decide when and what you want to talk about. When he was little, you talked about everything. Now that he's a teenager, he doesn't tell you anything. You talk to him and he doesn't talk back? Prepare well what you want to say. Use gentleness. If you don't get an immediate response, let him think about it until he decides to broach the subject. You'll be surprised how the dialogue develops over time. Often, the messages you send are received later, when the young person is able to process what has been said. Give him the opportunity to do this. Control your emotions. If you are upset, know that this does not bring the result you want. Try to adopt a firm, confident, and decisive tone, without alternating between anger and despair. Don't get lost in an eternal monologue. Don't get lost in an eternal monologue in which the teenager obviously stops listening to you and gets bored. It is not necessary to continue each discussion until exhaustion. His concentration is sometimes very poor. Make your point and stop. Don't provoke him by saying, "You're stupid, you don't understand anything." This makes him angry, he feels judged, even despised. Show him that you are on his side and that you trust his words. Test him. Give him opportunities, not orders. When he has a problem, give him a chance to find the solution himself. Don't give him your solution. For example, what you think or rather are sure he should do. The classic phrase, "you must do this, you must not do that," is a miscommunication. It's a block, and your teenager can't stand it. Also, don't stick to rigid rules. Otherwise, he'll be tempted to leave home. Try to be as flexible as possible, offering solutions without forcing them to choose. Don't judge or criticize him. For example, the phrase, "You are the most uncaring person I know, you're selfish." This is a clear message of disapproval that attacks the teen's character and judges their personality. What effects do these messages have? They make him feel inadequate and lower his self-esteem. Remember that a teenager's idea of himself is formed by his parents' judgments. So the child will judge himself in the same way that his parents judge him. Use inviting sentences. There are simple phrases that invite the teenager to express their ideas, judgments, or feelings. They encourage them to start or continue a conversation. The simplest are: "Talk to me, I'm listening." "Oh, fantastic. Interesting. But look at this." "Explain it to me. I wish I knew." "How nice that you know and you can explain." Identify the conflict. Of other forms, such as anger or violence, trying to keep a distance between your own emotions, which often condition the conversation, and those of the teenager. Convey the adolescent's unconditional acceptance and willingness to dialogue, so the teenager can use this acceptance as a resource to use in times of difficulty. Dear parents, let's now look at the distinctive features of the three representative systems and how they can be recognized in your teenager. Predominantly visual teenager. Sees the world in pictures. Communication style. Tends to talk fast, chesty breathing, high-pitched voice, expresses him or herself through visual metaphors. Postural characteristics. Muscular tension in shoulders and abdomen. Peculiarities. Tendency to point. Complexion pale. Breathing deep, making chest rise and fall. Typical phrases: this is how I see things. I don't see myself acting. Predominantly auditive teenager. Communication mode: slower and more measured speech, balanced rhythm, clear voice and tone, regular and deep diaphragmatic breathing. Postural characteristics: good muscle tension, shoulders somewhat hunched and neck somewhat bent to one side. Peculiarities: often crosses arms. Breathing: regular, moving diaphragm and chest. Predominantly kinesthetic teenager. Manner of communication: speaks slowly, long pauses, tone of voice is low and deep. Muscle characteristics: muscle relaxation, firm posture and straight shoulders. Peculiarities: palms turned up and arms relaxed. Color red. Breathing deep abdominal. Typical expressions: I feel it's right for me, I can't understand. Magic words to communicate with a teenager. What are you going to do? You may not believe it, but these words can really change the relationship between parents and teenagers. They're old enough to know what they need to do, and they need their parents' help to understand how to handle a situation. But also, they want to be in control and to be able to choose between different alternatives. Those magic words: what do you want to do? Convey respect, because you are transferring responsibility to your teenager and helping them learn to organize themselves. These are three very powerful words, much more than you can imagine. When you start using them, everything will change for the better in your communication with your teenager. You may be reluctant at first, thinking that your child is disorganized and that you need to keep reminding them of their responsibilities. But it's also good that he's learning from his mistakes. It is important to know that there are deadlines that must be met. An open conversation. If your teen is defensive, they will hide the truth or lie because they don't want to disappoint you, but also because they want to do what they think is best for the circumstances. It is important to maintain mutual respect, to keep communication open at all times. If you would like to stay calm during the conversation, follow these tips, which you will find in the following slides. Empathy. Looking at the situation from a teenager's perspective will help him or her make better decisions in the future. Next time he comes home with a low grade, for example, try saying something like this: give me a hug. Is there anything I can do to help? Is there anything we can do to improve these results? Time to communicate with the teenager. You don't have to respond immediately when you're angry. Give yourself time to calm down. You can say, you didn't set the table even though you knew it was your responsibility. We'll deal with it after I've had time to calm down. Communicating with a teenager also means not shouting. Under certain circumstances, the most natural reaction is to get angry, but anger only expresses negative feelings. It doesn't really communicate anything. You should take a step back and look at the things from your teenager's point of view. Say the magic words. What do you want to do? And you will see that things will improve. Don't reprimand the teenager. Making a mess in the room, not studying for an exam, and forgetting to do housework are certainly not fatal mistakes that teenagers can make, and then suffer the consequences. Arguing doesn't teach them the value of taking their responsibilities more seriously. If you're always arguing with your kids about something, they'll expect you to do it all the time. Remind them once, and if they miss deadlines, take action. Avoid being the problem solver. A parent's job is to teach their children to make good decisions and think independently. You don't have to have all the answers, and you don't even need good answers. You just need to start a coherent conversation. For example, you could say something like, "Let me think about it, and then we'll see what we can do together." Appreciate their uniqueness. This element of uniqueness is one of the foundations to start from when talking to your teenager. Recognizing them as a unique being is a healthy way to respect them. This is true at any level of communication, but even more so when dealing with teenagers. Remember, we were teenagers ourselves and had the same problem that teenagers have today. Certainly in a different environment with different tools, but the emotions are the same. Trying to look inside ourselves could reveal great solutions to our problem of communicating with them. Trying to see things from their point of view could help us discover things about ourselves that we have buried deep down and that surface in our own relationship with teenagers. Don't judge. Judgment is one of the biggest barriers in communication because if you judge, you can't listen. The other person senses this even just from your nonverbal language, and as soon as it happens, there are two reactions: shutting down with abandoning communication or arguing. Avoid minimizing situations experienced by teenagers. The teenager's desperate crying for her boyfriend who broke up with her after 2 days of relationship may seem like a minor thing from your point of view, but if you want to help them, you must strive to be empathetic. Listen without ridiculing. Teenagers are in a phase of great confusion, and the world around them does not offer them much certainty, so it is up to you to try to give them the security they will need in life to realize their future plans and dreams. Avoid living their life. Limit expectations of your children. Avoid making plans for them. Maybe they would like something else, but with a submissive attitude. They don't dare to say so. For example, he will finish high school, become a doctor, work at the hospital where I work. Thank you for watching this lesson. We invite you to watch the next lesson, number 5, in which we will present internet safety and how social media pitfalls can be avoided.